This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Hello?
Hi, it's Rich, Architectural Builders. You want to talk about Seco?
Hey! Thank you for calling me back. I appreciate it.
Sure. So I did get that email like a week ago, but for whatever reason it was marked as read in one ear and out the other kind of thing. So, and there's several of us in the sales email, so it must have just got...
Yeah, I know how that is. Everybody just figures that someone else handled it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what are you
But anyway, you I'm sorry, what was that?
What are you working on?
Oh, okay. Well, is this just for my education? Because I had ordered a couple of doors in August, an 8-foot door with a standard cylindrical lock prep and a 7-foot door with a mortise lock prep. Both of them were Seco. And the Seco, the 7-foot door had the mortise lock prep, but it did not have a bore hole where the door handle or lever could be installed. There was no hole. And my question is, did I misorder it because I was supposed to say that I wanted a pre-bored hole for the door lever to be installed?
Okay, so looking at the order, yes, the 7.0 had a mortise lock prep specified. So the industry standard is when someone orders a door with a mortise lock prep, the distributor is going to supply them with what we would call an 86 edge. That is a pocket only in the edge of the door. No other preparation for the lock is going to be done. And the term that we use for that they're called the function holes. So a couple of schools of thought. Most distributors, and generally myself included, will not say to the client, oh, you need a mortise lock prep. Great. Do you need us to do function holes? We're always going to probably never ask that question, even though someone needs to do it. And the reason is because it certainly impacts lead time. But the person drilling the hole for the function holes, if they're off a 16th of an inch, someone is going to call and say, this door is garbage. I can't use it. It's garbage. So generally people like us will keep our head down, if you know what I mean.
Because it's kind of dangerous ground. You don't want to return. You don't want it to, it just could create potential problems. So unless someone really specifies, I need function holes, you're not really going to mention it or suggest it.
And in general, that is true. Now, the other side of that, to which I adopt this attitude as well, if you were to say, I need function holes, I would say, awesome, you're getting function holes. Here's the marginal upcharge. Tell me I certainly need to know the hand of the door, and I need to know the function of the lock and possibly a template. I don't shy away from doing it, but industry standard, because distributors like me, we're lazy. We want to keep our life simple. And,
don't we all?
Yeah, so the standard convention is that doing the edge work is not included. Doing the function holes, your installer generally does. However, that might be a bygone generation that knows that they're going to do function holes for mortise locks. Now, if this was a contract job and the doors were all specified with mortise locks and Schlegel 9080s, to send those doors out to the site without function holes and without discussion, that's a bigger problem than being a 16th off. So
yeah.
At the end of the day, it boils down to having that discussion up beforehand. However, I do readily admit that it would be typical for us for that component to not enter a standard conversation. And
I get it.
And I don't feel that it's negligent. However, I would also say that a better version of a distributor would say, here's that. You obviously have to do function holes. Here's the good, here's the positive, and here's the negative of us doing it. Because there's going to be some guy doing it by hand, just like your installer.
Yeah.
And the downside of it being done at the shop is he doesn't have the lock per se. Now, if it was a factory order, the factory's punching that out on a CNC. Theoretically, it's going to be right 100 out of 100 times. So I realize it was the fire hose, but that's the truthful fire hose answer.
Yeah. No, that's good. That makes sense. So, and this is educational for me because the only steel doors I've ever ordered are from you. So I don't know, I'm just trying to navigate my way through here. So, but if I were to order Seco doors again, I would have to tell you I need function holes or make arrangements to have the installer do them on site once we get the doors. But it's something, they wouldn't come that way unless... the way that the doors were originally detailed to us via email has no language about function holes. And it would not be completely accurate to say that we know that you have to have function holes because we don't know that. Because you could use the same door in an application that does not require function holes. Right. You don't know that. So it's just, that was my question is it something that needs to be called out, specified from the customer to you? Does the buyer need to tell you something? Because I didn't know, but now I know it is something that needs to be brought up and not, So that's what I needed to know. You answered my question. Yeah, it's reasonable to assume that someone with less experience in hollow metal is going to say, well, I need a mortise lock prep. They know I have to put a mortise lock on it. And it would also be reasonable for the distributor to say, oh, yeah, that's nothing but a hornet's nest right there. Because if anyone, it is literally try to get a cylinder into a cylinder hole and it's off the 16th. People are going to lose their mind. And where I'm from originally in Chicago, those contractors are exceptionally distasteful when everything's going right. Let alone when something goes wrong. You don't even want to be, So the moral of the story is moving forward. So has this put you in a jam? Oh, well, we went to go, and even though this was August, the doors have been on standby, and we went to go install them or, hang them a week or so ago, and stopped in our tracks and went, oh, well, there's nowhere to put the lock set, the whole thing with the door handle. It's like, well, we're stuck. So that was a discovery, and I thought, well, maybe I didn't order it correctly. Maybe that was something I needed to say that I needed. Or was, if I say mortise lock prep, does that mean it would have that? So that was just my question. This is an educational question. Not that there's anything to be done about that old order. I just wanted to know. So in the future, I will readily admit that a better version of me with you as a client will say, hey, you want to talk about function holes? And then I would also say, when you are doing it again in the future, be sure to specify mortise lock prep and then give the door supplier the manufacturer's part number, complete part number, and the manufacturer name. And that would certainly be like, oh, wow, you're telling me it's a Sargent 8215? Okay.
pisses me off that you thinking there's going to be little holes in the face of the door. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because a mortise lock prep only could be an inactive leaf where you're putting an adapter.
It could be. That's Yep. Good point. Well, thank you for teaching me this.
Edification.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for reminding me that conversations could always be fuller. I do appreciate it.
No, that's good. No, but anyway, thanks for explaining it. It makes total sense, and I appreciate it. So very good to know, and I will remember that. All right. Well, you have a great rest of the day and weekend, and I'm sure I'll come back with an order in the future.
I look forward to earning that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye, Rich.
If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, this is what the client asked for, and it wasn't... The person who ordered this material at the client's office was not this person I spoke to. The gentleman who placed the order knew, he knew what he was talking about. And I'm looking at the original conversation. Okay, so I see it. So actually what happened is the client gave me part numbers. And this is literally, the original conversation was 9 months ago. And then they just simply placed the order 5 months ago. The client gave me exact part numbers, not for Seco, but for DKS. A importer of Asian Chinese manufactured hollow metal doors. They said I need a DKS 1608 and a DKS 1614, and that's what was quoted. And then, for one reason or another, Seco manufactured doors were supplied, and actually it could have been a lead time issue or whatever it was. I don't recall why it was changed from DKS to Seco. Well, they may have been actual Seco doors and not Baron. So the client gave me part numbers, and I stand up to everything that I just said to the client, but I'm also an order taker. And it's true, I didn't ask, well, do you need a drip cap for the outside of the door? What about hinges? I didn't ask every possible question. In this instance, the client was very clear and that's the whole thing with clients who provide part numbers. There is a natural assumption that if you're giving me a part number, you've reviewed and digested the information about that part number. So, moving forward, definitely calling out function holes is if they're needed, someone needs to do that. And I would say that the onus is more on the person buying the material than the distributor. I would just say that. Now, the other side of that is, if I'm looking to upsell and do so in such a way where my client's like, I'm so glad you brought that up, I'm going to say, hey, what about function holes? The issue with function holes is it's going to impact the lead time. This door that the client ordered, in stock, ready to go. Shipped within 2 or 3 days. Function holes were not in stock, ready to go. Plus, would have no idea who the lock is. It could be a Sargent 7700 series, or it could be a Schlage G-lock, and I may or may not have the template, and if I do, I don't know if I've got the right template. So we would wait for the client to supply a template in some instances, and that template sometimes just never comes. So, keeping our heads down, don't want to get it shut off. Let's move forward. Click on the Seco logo there, and let's fire up the Seco Door Production Door Order Form Index 2015. This is all of Seco's cheat codes, and let's go to lock, page 18. Let's see if they have something for function holes. So this was literally an LC0. Government I'm sorry, not an LC0. This was a LMO, forgive me, LM0, Government 86 Edge only. Now, you want function holes? LM2. That's with a code that Seco would have to be told, and you're going to also need to give them the part number of what you're doing. So in this, if it was a sectional trim, it could be a Schlage L9080 06A, and that's really all you have to tell them. LM2. Anyway, this document's handy, and that's part of what I wanted to show you, so that when you are, some people will not ever look at this because it's not my responsibility, or I'm afraid of making a mistake. And yeah, that's an honest concern. Other people will love this data. You want to be sure it's right? Get into the order manual. This is what the people at Seco use. This is the document that's used for that. And I will admit again, it did not occur to me to ask about function holes, and I think it's probably what didn't tip me in that direction is there was never any verbal conversation. It was always over email. The client gave me part numbers. And true, had I had a verbal conversation about locks and mortise locks and specific locks and installation, I may have said, hey, make sure your installer understands they're going to need to drill function holes. I may have said that, and I may not have. At the end of the day, it's good to have the conversation, and it wasn't had in this case, and the client got something other than what they had assumed they would get. Unfortunately, our builders' hardware industry is a school of hard knocks, but, if it's, you've got either 6, 7, 8, possibly 9 or 10 holes to drill. You get the template, you get let's just look at the template. Let's go to Schlage, and let's pull up their templates, and I'm going to show you how I would do it. I have their, up here, master template index. Click that. And then let's just get into the mortise locks. Yeah, I don't love, actually I like the Sargent templates more. This is good, but for purposes of what we're doing here, Sargent 8200 template. Yeah, I like this better. Hopefully this site comes up. Give it to me. No bueno. Let's just pull it up from the manufacturer. Okay. Well, this might work. There might be in here. Yeah, this is good enough. So, oh no, you know what? No. Let's not cheat our way through this. Because there's one thing I like about Sargent doing their templates, and I've done them lots of times. 8200. That 7700 I mentioned is the predecessor. It's an older, it may be the predecessor of the mortise, of the lever lock. I don't recall. Documents. Technical documents. Template. Okay. Sargent rose trim. Yeah, let's look at this. All right. Not what I wanted. There we go. This will work. This is what I'm talking about. In the upper left-hand corner, Sargent always has, hey, these are the holes that you need to drill depending on your function. So I like Sargent. Now what I would do, if we were doing that 15 function I had mentioned, it's right here. That's your 15. That tells me, okay, I need, first of all, I get a yellow highlighter, and I immediately highlight everything I need. I highlight this whole line, holes 1 and 2. I highlight hole 1, I highlight hole 2, and that's it. And I put an X through everything else. I know that my center line of my lock body, top of the door to the center of the lock body, is top of the door to the top of the pocket plus 4. Go down 1 51/64 at the proper back set, which is 2 3/4, and you have to be really careful about back set. We got 4 door edges here: beveled, square, radiused, and rabbited. Back set is from the center of the thickness of the door. If you hook your tape here and go 2 3/4 back, and you hook your tape here and go 2 3/4 back, those holes are not in alignment on a beveled edge door. So you got to be really mindful of that. That beveled is 1/8 and 2 for every 2 inches in door thickness. That difference between those edges is 1/8 of an inch. is what it is. This to here is basically, it's just shy of 1/8. 1/8 divided by 8 times 7 is what that would be. And there you go. Is it the end of the world? Nope. It is not the end of the world. You need a 1.1 hole saw. Here's how I do it. If I'm doing it by hand. It's actually quite rewarding work. You need a combination square. I always use a combination square because I can mark this off on the edge of the door. I can use this to get it off of the edge of the door really nice. Combination squares are also handy. They've got a little level built into them. Then also what I use in my shop when I'm doing this, a piece of egg crate foam. I put that on the face of the customer's door. I put all my tools on here. This corrugated nature, not corrugated, but this egg-shaped sort of aspect prevents drill bits from rolling off, tools from scratching the door. And I've walked out to the shop and my fabricators are just laying tools and hole saws on the customer's door. And I said, at least get a piece of cardboard. So I use something like this. Combination square is something like this. Yeah, you've got to have the proper hole saw. Wherever that was. There it is. 1.1 is what it's marked out. And that's how I do it. So is it simple for an installer to do? I would say yeah. If you're being hired to hang a door and you're a door hanger, drilling a couple of 1.1 holes at 2 3/4 backset at center line plus 1 51/64, someone might say, well, my tape measure doesn't read in 64. No, mine doesn't either. So 1 divided by 64 times 51, that's 0.79. So we know that it's 1 in 51/64. That's 0.179. So 1 3/4 is 1.75. That's 40 thousandths heavier. 1 divided by 16 times 13 is 1.8125. So now you're about 20 thousandths shy of 1 in 13/16. So now you can kind of get within reason of what you're dealing with that stuff. Anyway, pro tip, I hope some of that helps you, and if not, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.